I kind of think of Shelley as like the Justice League. Everyone talks about, Brinley Cannon, but they're kind of like the Justice League. They just have a nice set of characters that back them up.
When it comes to high school sports, East Idaho never gets its due.
I ran into Jeremy Hess, the AD of Grace Luther, and, he was just excited. And then, I'm just talking to him and he goes, we have 7 girls. So just amazing.
But the East Idaho Prepcast has changed that, covering the biggest sports stories from Salmon all the way down to Bear Lake.
And again, Grace is always that team just kind of lurking, like, yeah, there's Grace. They, they don't have social media, but you know what? They have footballs, they got grass, and they got pads, and they use all those very well.
It's the East Idaho Prepcast with Sean Kane on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome to another edition of the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, breaking down top stories from Districts 5 and 6 of East Idaho High School athletics. It's great to have you all with us. It's Halloween Eve. We got some great stories, not as much spook, but a lot of good treats, not a lot of tricking. And we got Sean Kane joining the Prepcast as always. Sean, what's going on?
Oh, good evening, Joel. I'm great. Things are good. It was less than 24 hours that we were here last night after the Gem State game day for the playoffs. 28 games coming in football, but hold your horses, Joel. I know you want to talk football. We had a lot happen in this past week, and we're going to dive into it tonight.
Yeah, let's go. Let's dive into it. Dude, we got to start with our title of our show, Sean, is They Are the Champions. We've had districts, we've had state, we have folks going to state from East Idaho. We are loaded. You already mentioned the football stuff. But, dude, girls state soccer, we got to start there because we had two teams from East Idaho, Sean, go all the way and claim the beloved, the hard-to-reach state champion trophy, that crown. We got in 5A, the number 3 seeded Pocatello Girls Soccer Thunder, and then in 4A, the number 1 seeded Sugar Salem Girls Soccer Diggers. Sean, congrats to both those teams for getting to the championship. How did they do it?
I mean, we'll start with Pocatello. Me and you both thought it was good. They were a 3rd seed, not a 1 seed, and I think that paid off. Yep. They took care of Twin 2-0, took care of Lewiston 5-0, just a drubbing there. And then Sandpoint, who's won a bazillion state titles in girls soccer, 1-0. I watched that game, and it was just pretty much a dominant performance. Not too much, but they controlled the ball well most games and kept the ball on their opponent's half. So just a great job. Excuse me. And, you just for the program, they're going to be able to put up in the gym. They have a painted wall for the state championships, and this is going to be their first. So it has all the sports listed in blue, Joel. You'll get my reference there. Navy blue.
I love that.
And, it'll say girls soccer, and they'll get to pull away the tape for 2024 because it's the first one. So what a memorable experience to be part of the first one. I can even think back to my first one, which was the school's first one in program history. And I don't know if anything's better than that. Just the first one for school. And think of Pocatello. It's one of the oldest high schools in Idaho. So you've got over 100 years of tradition and alumni, and you're the first ones to do it. Pretty special for those young ladies.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I'm so proud of them, especially because they were coming in as 3 seeds. Last year, they were the favorite. Maybe Sandpoint had something to say about that, but Pocatello was maybe, if not the favorite, one of the favorites, Sean. They came in as a 3 seed, like you said. We both agreed that was a good placing for them. But then they showed that like they were worthy, I guess, of a 3 seed, even higher, as they did beat Twin 2. It wasn't like 2-1 or 1-0. Obviously, the last game was, but they beat Twin 2-0, like you said. They beat Lewiston 5-0. I had to emphasize that. I had to mention that again to emphasize how impressive that is, that this Poky team that started the season kind of quiet, that they were returning a lot of starters, especially on that back line. But no one was really quite sure who this Poky team. We all thought maybe they'd take a step back. They lost their amazing goalie. but they came to the state tournament and took care of business. 2-0 against Twin, 5-0 against Lewiston, and then 1-0 against a very good Sandpoint team. I was talking to one of the parents of one of the players on the team, and they said Sandpoint was the favorite, right? And they went in and beat Sandpoint. Sean, you also mentioned how this was their first state championship ever for girls soccer. This girls soccer team has only been to state 5 times, right? And they've been 4 straight years. One of the constant player on that team was Hallie Bringhurst, playing on that back line, keeping everything in front of them. And she played varsity all 4 years. So that's pretty cool for that player. Hallie Bringhurst played in the back. She would also come up, kind of play that attacking defender, and all, played varsity 3 or 4 years and got to state all 4 years in her career. So that's pretty cool for Hallie Bringhurst.
Yeah, I mean, definitely amazing. They had a good mix. I think, like you said, they had pretty much everyone come back, but I believe one girl from last year. And so they brought everyone back, a really good team. So they had a good mix. They had some freshmen playing starting roles. They had a good mix of players. That the seniors are a really tough class for girls and at the Thunders, in their back pocket. But they had a good mix, and that's really, I think, kind of the importance there, that it wasn't one player, but they were just a good team, and they had been playing together for so long.
Yeah, it's nice to, and 100%, it's nice to have that mix, not just senior leadership, right? But talent, and not just talent who are juniors and sophomores, but that senior leadership. So congrats again to the Pocatello girls soccer team for their championship win, for getting that state title, and the first one in school history. Sean, another team that won, we already mentioned them, Sugar Salem. They came in as the #1 seed. Sean, they just took care of business.
Yeah, thanks for coming to the tournament, but Sugar was there. Scott Terry the head coach didn't have to pull double duty, unfortunately for him. I'm sure he didn't mind, as the boys didn't make it, but the girls sure made the city proud, right? 9-0 over Homedale, 3-0 to American Falls, which again, you kind of have to tip your hat to American Falls, probably playing them the best out of any team in the tournament, and then defeating Buell 4-0. So, I mean, you didn't give up a goal. You scored 16 goals in a tournament. I mean, congrats to Scott Terry and the Diggers for getting it done. Back-to-back champions, all the accolades. They were the #1 team all year, took care of business. It's easier said than done, as a lot of teams found out this past weekend, but congrats to them.
Yeah, it is so hard it's so hard to win a game. It's very hard, obviously, to go undefeated, and they did just that in the state tournament. So congrats to #1 Sugar Salem girls soccer, Sugar Salem Diggers girls soccer, for going all the way and winning that state title in 4A. Boys soccer, just a quick I guess shout out to Blackfoot Broncos boys soccer team, and Teton, and their both respective classifications. They placed 3rd. So good job to them there. Sean, let's go back. Let's go into the volleyball district play, man. And let's just start at 6A. We'll hit some of these most important kind of stories with the district championships all done, district tournament play all done, and the champions crowned, and then we'll get into volleyball state brackets. 6A, Sean, no trick there, no treat there. I guess no trick, all treat for Madison, as they're the champs. They'll be going to state, but Rigby got 2nd, so they'll be going to state as well, which is we predicted Madison, but Rigby coming in there, Sean, and pulling the upset.
Yeah, I think Rigby and Thunder Ridge, and at times Highland even, it was really a battle for 2. Obviously, Madison was the strongest team. I will say, I found it very interesting that Madison didn't get the #1 seed in the bracket. Like, they're #1 in max preps pretty much all year until the very end. I don't know if it makes a huge difference. 1 and 2 flip a coin. Sometimes it's not going to make a big difference, but for Rigby, the task for them is very difficult, as they take on Skyview, who won their 16th straight district tournament, and whatever classification they're in this week, doesn't matter, they win as well. But I do really like Madison's chances.
Yeah, me too. And that will be played. State will be played at Mountain America Center in Idaho Falls for 6 days. So that's nice for Madison and Rigby. They'll have some home court advantage, if you will. 5A High Country Conference, Idaho Falls. They've been the favorite all season. Really strong team. They're the champs for the first time though in 9 years. Sean, they'll be going to state. They were dominant in tournament and season, so they should do well there. Bonneville also going to state. Sean. And let's not forget Grace Fugger. She's the libero for Bonneville. She's going to Baylor in January on the volleyball scholarship. Although Grace Fugger, I'll have to check that. But if she's from Idaho Falls or Bonneville, I'll check that really fast. But some heavy hitters there from Idaho Falls and Bonneville.
Yeah, it's been a while since Bonneville has Idaho Falls won district championship, but that's because Bonneville and Idaho Falls are always competing for state titles at the end of the day. So two storied programs really is Bonneville and Idaho Falls when it comes to girls volleyball in District 6. And Idaho Falls, kind of under the radar, I'd say a little bit. Just there's some teams that are a little more shiny. Right, it's a little more shiny. It doesn't mean it's the best thing, and that's kind of Idaho Falls. And Idaho Falls with the 3rd seed taking on Columbia is not a bad place for them. And Bonneville has what to be maybe the most interesting matchup to me is they're the number 4 seed, and they'll play Middleton the last match of that day in the beautiful Mountain America Center. I don't know if you've experienced that venue yet, Joel, but I've been there a few times, and I've been extremely impressed. And what a great move by the powers that be to move some of these state events to the east, not always in Boise. Now Boise teams are going to get that experience of traveling, which I think the kids really enjoy that. I mean, it's nice to be, I always say it's better to be in your own bed as a coach, but for the kids, they like to travel.
Yeah, totally. Grace Fugger I was right the first time, she is the libero for Idaho Falls, and she's got a scholarship. She's going to be going to Baylor in January, Sean, leaving school early on that volleyball scholarship. So congrats to Grace Fugger, and hopefully she and her Idaho Falls team can make some noise coming in as the number 3 seed playing number 6 Columbia. Let's see. We already knew Pocatello, Poky Thunder girls volleyball from SEIC. They won the championship for their district. They'll be playing though number 7 Wood River, which Wood River coming in number 7. A little surprising, Sean.
I mean, not
I know
really.
This is Magic Valley, but I just
not really.
Pocatello's playing Wood River.
Pocatello already beat Wood River earlier in the year, correct?
Right,
you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I can't remember all the scores there, but we thought that to be an interesting match, and so another rematch. And then and you also have Twin Falls, who's also another pretty good program. But I think Pocatello's maybe played a few more tougher opponents, and that's kind of probably what boosted their ranking. But Pocatello again brings back a team that went last year, got a 3rd place trophy, the first trophy in program history. Pocatello, they took a little while, but they're getting these accolades now, and it doesn't matter. You get them, right? And I think that's good. And but a very intriguing 2-7 match, because Wood River was ranked pretty high in media polls and different things, and they did a great take on it on the volleyball prepcast with Brandon Bainey. You guys will have to check out. I mean, watch us first, but then check that out.
100%. Yeah. So I went back and checked, and sure enough, Pocatello had beat Wood River, but it was 3-2. Wood River took Pocatello to 5 games. And I think that plus Wood River's the games they did have, the games they won, that gave them a lot of those strong media poll rankings. So I think that matchup could be a little dangerous for Pocatello. Obviously, Pocatello loaded with talent. And I got to see them. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, Sean, but man, that left side, when they come in on the hit from Jacoby Nebeker, I want to say also, Abby Lusk, I think, or Kennison Guard. I can't remember which one, but I know that left side is so strong. And especially I saw Jacoby Nebeker just hit some super hard spikes from that left side. So I'll be curious if Wood River has an answer for that. Other games coming up, Sean, other district champions that we'll talk about their their state seeding. From 4A Mountain Rivers Conference, South Fremont are the champs, Sean, for 3 years in a row, and they'll be going to state. But man, Sean, we got to discuss the how they got there. So they lost to Sugar Salem on Tuesday. Then they had to go the long way. So Thursday, starting at 4 p.m., South Fremont played 12 tough sets. Then they finished 6 hours later, shortly before 10 p.m., with only a quick 15-minute break. But that at the end of the night, they had to beat Sugar Salem twice because they lost the first time to Sugar on Tuesday, which brought them to bring, which crowned them the district champions for the third time in a row. So South Fremont got it, but took them the long way to get there.
Yeah, I mean South Fremont, and we talked about the South Fremont and Sugar, and there was an upset, and you didn't have a real great feeling of what was going to happen. I don't think you'd have been surprised with either team making it, but South Fremont kind of showing their experience in these situations, and I think that's really what got them through. And they'll take on a semi-familiar opponent in the first round at Bear Lake, who got the number 1 seed, and I've seen Bear Lake play in person, and they're a pretty good program as well from East Idaho. So
yeah,
an all East first round matchup.
Yeah, and so I'm just really impressed with how South Fremont, their coach Tylee Hill, was able to kind of keep them rallied and go the long way and win that district championship. But yeah, now they play. They get that first round matchup against number 1 Bear Lake, who's been on a tear. Speaking of Bear Lake, they're the 4A SCIC champs, dominant in the tournament, Sean, in the season. Snake River, they'll get second, and they'll be going to state as the 4A SCIC. They had 2 bids, and Snake River, Sean, gets to play number 3 seed Kimberly, as Snake River is the number 6 seed.
Yeah, and a lot of people I think will kind of point a finger to Kimberly and say maybe they're one of they're one of the better teams in this, also with Fruitland, and then Bear Lake gets the number 1 seed. But yeah, Bear Lake's been playing really well. I've seen them live as well. They're pretty lengthy for a 4A school, tall, long, can extend the court, and get players moving around and really take up space. So a good draw for them. Not great for East Idaho, right? Don't want to see 2 East Idaho teams play, but I think they've got a legitimate, a good shot at going a long way in this tournament.
Yeah. So there you have it. Snake River playing number 6, Snake River playing number 3, Kimberly, and number 1, Bear Lake playing number 8, South Fremont. Then for 3A, Sean, in the new conference, we got to discuss this one. Ryrie also went the long way to become champions. They lost to Firth 2-3. But it's double elimination, right? So then they go and beat North Fremont. Then they had to beat Firth 2 times, and that game was 3-0 and 3-1, and which brought them to winning the district and getting that state title berth. But congrats to Ryrie, man.
Yeah, Ryrie, and you see this a lot with volleyball, and it's sometimes just kind of is a mind puzzle for me why they set up the tournaments the way they do for volleyball. But I won't go into that. We'll leave that for another time. But you see this a lot where they lose, come back, and then win. 3-0, 3-1's kind of easy in my book for volleyball with so much at stake. But it's really interesting because you end up having to play a lot in a row. And sometimes after you're warmed up, you're better playing than you were for the teams that was sitting. You're kind of got a little more fire. I think it's hard to start cold in volleyball personally. I think the teams that are playing, unless they're just totally dominant, the team that has been playing has a little more steam. So congrats to Firth.
Yeah, totally. And so Firth is going to state, even though they were runner-ups, and Ryrie will be going to state as well, of course, as the district champs. So number 6 Ryrie, they get the number 6 seed, Sean. They'll be playing number 3 Ambrose, and then number 8 Firth. They get that final seed. It gets to play number 1 Melba. Any chance for Firth to win that one, Sean?
I mean, that's why you play the games, Joel. I think, you got to go and play. And sometimes volleyball, it's not so much the seeds that are important. It's the names. Like you hear you're playing Skyview, you kind of like freak out a little bit for a team like that. You've got to just think, hey, we've just got to go play. It doesn't matter who we're playing. We've got to play the best we can play right now. And I think that's what you got to keep in mind. Don't worry about who you're playing. Just play well.
Yeah, for sure. And then finally, well, not finally, but for 3A SEIC, really no mystery here. Number one, Malad in that district tournament does win the tournament. West Side is the runner-up. Both those teams will be going to state. West Side coming in as the number 2 seed is playing number 7 West Side, unfortunately, as West Side coming in as number 7. Wish we could fix that, Sean. You hate to see these teams, not just from East Idaho, but from the same conference, play each other. But so it is with Max Preps. Malad gets a 2, Westside gets a 7, and they have to play each other yet again.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just, I don't know what to say. It's tough.
Yeah.
You want the ranking, but it's also frustrating to have to go back up and play the same team, right? That you've already just played. I was trying to look it up, but I feel like this happened almost exactly the same thing last year that Malad played West Side first round before. But Malad, they're just removed from. They took second last year. They're in the number 2 seed. I think they've got a good chance to meet maybe like a Melba in a true final as the days go on.
Yeah, totally. Well, Sean, and then finally, with 3A all taken care of, let's jump to with obviously 2A. Butte County wins their district. They'll be playing number 7 Liberty Charter, and that'll be held at Jerome High School. Bishop County, Butte County. They defeated Idaho City 3-0 in the playing game, so they won their district, but they had to go to the playing game, and they just demolished Idaho City, no problem, 3-0. You come in maybe kind of cold into that. Idaho City came in cold as well, so at least you're both kind of warming up. But Butte County had no problem taking care of Idaho City in that playing game, so they'll be playing number 7 Liberty Charter as the number 2 seed, which interesting to me, Sean. Again, it's not for this prepcast tonight, but they play the playing game, but they're seeded number 2. That just seems absurd to me, but whatever.
Yeah,
they're number 2 seed, which is great.
We talked about this last year. You weren't here, Joel, but it's just kind of absurd that you've been ranked 1 or 2 in the rankings all year, and you have to play a playing game. And don't forget this, because these scenarios could be coming more as we get into some other district tournaments and things, and as we go through the year and things shift around a little bit. But Butte County took care of business. They're number 2 seed. I think they have a great chance against Liberty Charter. They've got a lot of weapons. They took down Grace. They played a hard schedule. It should be a good tournament. I mean, it's just Troy has been very dominant in this classification for a while, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Butte County Troy matchup.
Yeah, I would love that. And just to go back to what we were talking about with 3A, but the former 2A, Sean, Malad was in it last year, and you were right, they played Bear Lake in the opening round. And I think, those are the only teams that played, and from East Idaho that played each other. Malad versus Bear Lake. Malad won that. Malad went all the way to the championship and lost to Melba in the final. Exactly.
So I was pretty much right.
You were close, man. Yeah. Or pretty much right. I like that better. Right on. So that's volleyball, folks. If you want more volleyball coverage, there was a great podcast or prepcast done. Brandon Bainey had Lindsay Togiai Afuk, our IdahoSports.com volleyball expert. She writes a bunch of articles throughout the season, has done a great job covering volleyball throughout really the state of Idaho. And she did a good job covering East Idaho volleyball as well. But they did a great prepcast earlier today. So catch that on IdahoSports.com, on their YouTube channel, on their Facebook page, on the X account, and wherever you download your podcasts, you can catch that volleyball state preview. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe and catch this prepcast on those same platforms and wherever you download your podcasts. And hey, if you guys have a comment, anyone out there have a comment about volleyball or a state volleyball, soccer, boys, girls soccer, we're going to also get into cross country and hit some football before the night's over. Leave us a comment, leave us a shout out, and also shout out your favorite team and your favorite player here from East Idaho. Sean, let's go into girls and boys cross country districts as we just
wait. Did we do 1A?
Did we do 1A? Oh, we didn't do 1A. I'm so sorry. Let's do 1A.
Grace Lutheran is very close to me, Joel. If we don't talk 1A volleyball, I'm going to be in trouble.
We and especially because we talk about them in the what is that called? The intro.
The intro,
So
yeah.
I'm so sorry. We got to hit 1A really fast, though. Remember, 6A is at the beautiful Mountain America Center, Idaho Falls. 4A is going to be held at Lake City High in Coeur d'Alene. 3A is going to be held at the Memorial Gym at the University of Idaho, which is going to be awesome. Always great to play on a college campus. 2A is going to be played at Jerome High School. So shout out to our Jerome buddy out there, Scott Burton, putting that on for them. And then last but not least, Sean, let's hit 1A, going to be held at Canyon Ridge High School. Mackey ends up losing to Rockland in the championship for their district. Rockland is the number 1 seed. Mackey's the number 3 seed. Mackey plays number 6, Cary. Rockland plays number 8, St. John.
Yeah, and Grace Lutheran's the 5th seed, and Ledor was my dark horse, but Grace Lutheran defeated Chalice and Ledor to get into that spot. So a lot of teams from this conference in here. Rockland with a great chance, I think, with that 1 seed, and I wouldn't be surprised, if you saw Rockland, maybe Grace Lutheran in a semifinal, and Mackey. I think Mackey's got a tough matchup against Cary. I think that's a tough 3-6. The seeds kind of throw out the door might be tough, but yeah, that should be a fun one in Twin Falls.
Yeah, 100%. And just want to shout out Grace Lutheran, like you said, Sean, but I want to emphasize this. They defeat Chalice, and then they defeat Ledor for the play-in berth. So they got to go to the play-in, and then they defeat Richfield. Not even close, Sean. 3-0 in the play-in game. So Grace Lutheran gets the 5 seed. Again, having to do the play-in game, but you end up at the 5 seed. Whatever, man. But they play Genesee, and that's going to be a hard out, man. Maybe the best game of the tournament in that first round.
Yeah, it's kind of like NCAA basketball, right? Those 4-5s, those 10s, right. 11. Those matchups are always really good. But Grace Lutheran, they're a tough team. You can't sleep on them as a 5 seed. They went the hard way. You've got a lot of momentum that way. You're how many games you could have been done, right? This game, and one more game against Richfield. Could have been done packing it up and starting for basketball, which a lot of the girls are going to do as well there. So not yet. You're going to have to do tryouts just a little later.
I love that. And I know last year, Sean, with Grace Lutheran, we're well connected to the program. They are always sending us scores, texting and emailing, which is super helpful. Any teams out there, if you want us to shout out your team more, want us to be more connected to your team, send us scores at Sean Kane 182 on Twitter. I'm at E1 Educador on Twitter. Send us comments, send us shout outs from a player or to a player, stories about your teams, and we'd be happy to highlight them. Grace Lutheran has done a great job keeping us in the loop of their teams. Last year, Sean, they came into the basketball season a little bit hobbled, right? Because they came in injured, and a lot of their players had to get kind of back into basketball shape and recover from some injuries. But they picked up steam, and they ended up having a really good season in basketball. We'll see if the same thing happens this year.
Yeah, and that's for 2A or 1A. A lot of these young athletes, ladies, are going to be transitioning to basketball, right? It's not like they have a whole nother unit that comes in, maybe like bigger schools. It's going to be about the same girls. So yeah, kudos to the kids it's a lot of work. It's hard to play. You're at the hardest level at state. And then they're like, well, now we got basketball tryouts. Get excited,
Right.
But these kids in 2A, 1A, even 3A, and all divisions really do it. But it's not as easy as it sounds.
No, it's not. Sean, did we cover volleyball sufficiently? All right, we got it. And sorry, 1A, I just got too excited. I saw cross country. It's the one sport I played in high school besides swimming, but you don't really play swimming. So I just jumped to cross country, Sean. That was a trick on this Halloween Eve. There you go.
I'm on it. I'm on it.
Thank you for being the adult in the room.
That's not normally the case.
Right. Let's get into girls and boys cross country districts, Sean. Again, we want to talk about the top stories. We can't hit every story in every sport, but we try to hit the top stories. And we had some great stories last week in girls and boys cross country districts. Let's first do 6A, Sean. Highland were the champs. Thunder Ridge were second. Both those teams will be going to state. Madison, though, will also be going to state as a team. But, man, something kind of scary happened, Sean. Madison Junior Millie Drake, she did win the 6A districts for District 5 and 6, the girls' individual title, ran a great race, 18:59. But Sean, her teammate, senior Brinley William, which you and I have talked about on this show plenty of times, she was in the lead, Sean, with about 200 meters to go. And then she started slowing down as the finish line is right there. She stops and she collapses. But we got some further information. She ended up being okay. She ended up finishing 15th, Sean. She was one. She only lost 14 spaces in that time. And she was able to be helped up by a teammate. She finishes the race at 15th. She joins the teammates for the awards for the race. And last I've heard, she's going to be okay, and she's going to run with Madison for state.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's great. You get worried when those things happen, and especially because when these races happen, I don't think it was too extremely hot. I think a couple happened on a unreasonably hot day, so that always kind of makes you worried late in the season, because we had some days in East Idaho that were 90s not too long ago, right?
Right.
It was kind of unseasonably warm, so you get worried about heat stroke, things like that. But I'm glad to hear she's able to go back with her team and run, because she's done really well all season. And Millie Drake, winning the title, that is phenomenal. So Madison will have a lot to play for at their state championship. But you got to give kind of another shout out. We've talked about Highland cross country, and the Highland girls have
100%.
Kept it rolling all year and continuing that into districts, and they'll look to have a strong performance. It's definitely difficult again in the 6A cross country landscape. A lot of good teams, and a lot of teams from the Boise area are running crazy times. So it'll be interesting to see how the East Idaho 6A teams compete. It'd be cool to see someone place, or just break in there a little bit and kick some of those other guys out.
Yeah, totally. And then on the 5A, Century girls got second. I believe Preston girls got first. Both of them, if I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
And both of them will be going to state. Yeah, Preston girls won. And Sean, this is their 5th district title in a row, man. They had 7 runners in the top 10, including number 12, Ashley Scott, who ran in 1940, was that senior Ashley Scott?
Yeah, 12th grader.
Sorry. Yeah, so senior
1940 champion, won districts.
Yeah.
Cross country is one of those sports where, unless they've been running phenomenally, you don't see seniors winning all the time. You kind of see a lot of lower classmen run better, and then that's kind of the progression of cross country, it seems like, unless you just have a runner that's above and beyond the others. But congrats to Ashley Scott. And then, like you said, they had seven runners in the top 10. That pretty much starts shining the trophy. That's what the Preston girls did.
Yeah, man. So congrats to Preston and Century. They'll be going to state in 5A. For 4A, again, this is girls cross country districts. Sugar Salem, no surprise there. They're the champs. But also Snake River will be going as well to state. And then for 3A, Soda Springs, they're the champs. No surprise there again. Soda Springs has been dominant for 5-10 years. Lizzie Butler for Soda, coming in with a 2019, fast for a girl, man.
Yeah, great job, Soda. Won like 13,000 cross country titles for however many years at whatever 2A, I guess they were before, right? 2A, now they're 3A, and just a phenomenal program. So the Springs knows how to run. They've done it well for just years and years. So congrats to them and Lizzie.
Yeah. And then 2A, 1A, they're combined. Grace Grizzlies, they're the cross country girls champs in their district, and they'll be going to state as well. Other teams going to state also for girls, and we'll hit them in a little bit. But those are your district champs in girls cross country. Again, we really liked Highland the whole season. Madison was going to be there, but Thunder Ridge getting there in 6A, and then Preston for 5A, Sugar Salem for 4A. Not a lot of surprises there, Sean, but very interesting to see how it all shakes out at state for girls cross country. Let's hit boys cross country districts really fast, and then we'll go into state for both of them. Highland boys, again, Highland sweeps it for for 5A, 6A for boys and girls. Highland boys wins. Rigby gets second. Peyton Bird from Rigby wins in the individual title for district. He's a 3-time district champ, Sean.
Yeah, Peyton Bird's a great runner. He's been doing it, he's won 3 times in a row, not an easy feat, and a very fast district 6 conference 6 district running meet, and Highland had a lot of good runners as well. Like Cody Christensen is great for Highland. So, I mean, for Peyton Bird to come out and win against this steep competition is a great job, and a testament to the Rigby program. But congrats to Highland. They've done a phenomenal job just kind of changing the course of that program and the culture, and really running as a team, as their coaches let us know earlier in the year, and that's really made the difference.
Yeah. And then Thunder Ridge, their girls were second. They'll be going to state. Thunder Ridge boys barely sneak in there, but they do. Thunder Ridge claims that third and final slot to state from 6A, from districts 5 and 6. So congrats to Thunder Ridge for that third place finish at districts. For 5A, Sean, High Country Conference, Skyline boys cross country, they're the champs in their district. 5A SCIC Century are the champs with just a sophomore, Ammon Bitten. You know this kid, Sean, comes in at a 16-18 and just dominates for Century.
Yeah, he's had a good quiet year. I was talking to the head coach, Tom Newman, and this assistant coach today, actually, as I was leaving school. And I know Ammon because he's played tennis. His sister played tennis for me. He also played soccer. He played a pretty big role in the soccer team this year. So he's been doing double duty. And now that soccer's over, able to go and win that district tournament, that district championship. Pretty big deal for a sophomore, and a nice time too of 16-18. And so congrats to him, and he's a funny character as well.
Great story there. And it's always fun when the sophomore kind of quietly just dominating, and especially as a current, but finishes the soccer season and says, okay, watch this. So congrats to Ammon. And then in the Mountain Rivers Conference, Sugar Salem, again, boys in the 4A Mountain Rivers Conference, champs again, Sugar Salem, and then Snake River will also be going as well. And then in 3A, Mlad, they're the district champs, no surprise there. But Ethan Willis from Westside wins with a 17:08.
Yeah, nice job at 17:08. Not anything to shake your head at. A great job by Mlad, and West Side having some good runners. There's just kind of a well of really good runners in East Idaho, and you'll see this from cross country, because when we transition to track in the spring, East Idaho dominates like in the long races, like the 800 and different things, and you can see why, and you'll see why later as it goes on, because some of these names will pop up back later.
Yeah. And we our long distance is better because everything is so far apart here, right? We gotta move more. Bad joke. And then finally with 2A, 1A on boys cross country, Rockland, they're the champs, and they'll be going to state. Congrats to Rockland, Sean. We didn't talk about Rockland cross country much, but a really good program this year. And they got to feel really, really excited, really proud of not only their performance, but getting to state.
Well, yeah, I mean, Rockland boys cross country won last year. They won state last year. Can they go back to back? They've got a good team. They're coached well. They've got that, Kansas City blue and red colors, which I kind of like the contrast as their jerseys and stuff. But Rockland, looking to go back to back. It'll be an interesting story to follow. A lot of good racers in 1A, but it'd be very interesting to see if or the 1A, 2A, can Rockland go back to back? We'll have to stay tuned.
Yeah. So let's go through. We have some time, Sean. Let's go through the state. We can't hit all the teams, but Sean, I'm pulling up the athletic.net website, and let's look at all of the kind of top 15 runners from each classification for boys and girls. Starting with 6A girls from East Idaho. Your top runner from East Idaho coming in is still Brimley William, coming in at an 18:26, but she's the 12th fastest runner, Sean. The rest of the runners above her are all from East and North Idaho.
Yeah, I mean, I might have mentioned that it's hard to go up there, Joel, already.
Right.
And I kind of no, but hey, I mean, the times right there are great, right? But it's, can you go up, can you go up to Eagle Island State Park in Eagle, which is a phenomenal course in the Boise area, or Eagle, right?
Right.
And a lot of people have some of their best times at this race. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, she's the only one from East Idaho in the top 15. Obviously, there are more, but for time purposes, we won't get into all of them. Well, now let's go to the boys 6A varsity, the top 15 from East Idaho. I think your fastest runner is going to be Peyton Bird, coming in with a 15:48. I think he's going to be your only one in the top 15. Yeah, indeed, it is Peyton Bird. A lot of teams from Boise, Coeur d'Alene, or a lot of runners, Boise, Coeur d'Alene, again, West Idaho, the Treasure Valley, and North Idaho.
Yeah, Peyton Bird, it's a race that he can do really well in Eagle Island, and I think it'll be, we've got a lot of good individuals now. Last year in East Idaho, there was a bunch of state team champions. It might be more this year. We don't have as many state team champions, but we might have some more individual placers,
right?
Because we have such a strong group of runners this year.
Yeah, totally. Let's go to 5A girls. Again, we're looking at the top 15 girls who'll be going to state. Your 1, 2, 3, 4. Your fifth fastest is JC Jensen from Idaho Falls. Sean coming in at a 19:03 is her PR. And then just 2 slots behind her is Sailor Tomazin from Blackfoot with a 19:21. Later, then you have Haley Jackson from Century. She's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She's the top 8th runner. And then 10 is Ashley Scott from Preston. We've mentioned her 19:40. 2 slots down from her, number 12, Acadia Hansen from Century. You know her, Sean, coming in with the 19:46. Right behind her, Rachel Hills from Idaho Falls. And then finally, Katie Boyle from Pocatello and Mia Atchley from Preston. And just missing that top 15 is Addison DeClark from Century. So a lot of good East Idaho representation in that top 15 in 5A girls.
Yeah, I'll tell you in 5A, right? Century girls came in second to Preston. Well, don't forget Preston girls won last year.
Right.
They won state. It was called 4A last year. Right now it's 5A. Right. So Century girls are a much stronger second team than you think, because they're having to run against the defending champions. So It'll be a good battle between these teams. I think Century and Preston will be very, very good at this race.
Right on. And then let's do 5A boys top 15. Alexander Renna coming in as the the second fastest runner, 15:46 from Skyline. Right behind him, Gary Jones from Bonneville. A few slots down from him, Caleb Boyle from Idaho Falls, Ethan Hansen from Century, Davis Roberts from Skyline, Ammon Bitten, your boy from Century, Austin McCord from Idaho Falls, Thomas Peterson, know his family really well, really good runner, really great dude as well from Pocatello, Thomas Peterson. And then a few slots down from him, Porter Campbell from Preston, and finishing that top 15 is Desmond Swains from Skyline. So again, not as much representation as the girls, but still a solid representation from East Idaho in the 5A boys race.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Skyline wins districts. Idaho Falls was the boys champs last year. They had some top runners graduate, but it'll be interesting to see if now Skyline can kind of host the trophy in that Division 5A now, or what can Idaho Falls maybe have some top runners still place. But yeah, it just kind of shows, even though one team lost some people, don't worry, we got another team in East Idaho that can step up.
Totally. And then with that, let's go to 4A, the 4A girls race, top 15 from East Idaho, from Snake River, number 1, the fastest runner, Peyton Pilatus, coming in with an 18:54, again, from Snake River. And then 3, 4, 5 slots down, coming in as the 5th fastest runner from Sugar Salem. I think it's Janja Jackson or Yanya Jackson. Sorry for that mispronunciation if that's wrong, but she's coming in with a 19:32, 5th fastest runner from Sugar Salem, Janya Jackson. And then further down again from Sugar Salem, Hannah Dowling Right behind her from Teton, Stella Pistoresi. And then a few slots down from her, Claire Hunter. And then I think the last two rounding out the top 15, Mackenzie Bean from Sugar Salem and Ansley Miller from Snake River. And I will shout out one more, Layla Hall, just behind those top 15, coming in at 16, 17, Layla Hall from Marsh Valley. But you hear a lot of Sugar Salem in that top 15, followed by Snake River, Sean.
Well, Snake River, the defending champs in this category, those girls won last year. A very strong team coming back this year. Sugar was also very strong at, kind of at their heels, right, last year. Right. So again, this race could come down to two East Idaho teams again and how well they perform. And it's so interesting to me in cross country how important it becomes, the team aspect of it, because it's such an individual sport. But when you're trying to get the banner, the blue trophy, anything that starts with a B, you've got to be a team.
Yeah, for sure. And then let's do 4A boys. Coming in as the fastest runner, Sean, from Teton, Zane Lindquist. We've talked about him a few times this year. Coming in with a 15:19. I can't even imagine running a 15:19. And then coming in as the fourth fastest runner from Sugar Salem, Daryl Dixon. Number 5 right behind him from Snake River, Jacob Hammond. Further down about 9 or 10, Dylan Ball from Sugar Salem. Then from South Fremont, first time we've called South Fremont on this Prepcast for cross country, Tice Polson. Right behind him, Lincoln Smith from Teton. A few slots down, Adam Willis from Sugar Salem. And finally, rounding out that 15, maybe 16, is Graham High from Snake River. Then 2 Sugar Salem runners, Nathan Dowling and Jackson Johansson. So a lot more Sugar Salem, or a lot of Sugar Salem there, with a few Teton runners mixed in.
Yeah, and let's not forget, South Fremont, and maybe we've kind of been sleeping on them, Joel, but they're they're the defending champs. They won last year. They've got a bunch of good runners. No surprise, Sugar Salem has a good bunch of good runners. Again, East Idaho's got a lot of individuals in those top times. Can they go up and get it done this weekend?
Yeah. So let's finish off with let's see, that was 4A, right, Sean? So let's do 3A girls. I said finish off. I thought we had done 3A, thinking Sugar Salem was 3A. That was like burned into my memory the last few years that Sugar Salem was 3A, but they're 4A now. So 3A. Number 2 fastest runner in 3A girls. We've called her name a few times. She's only a junior. Lucy Boone from Ryrie, coming in as the second fastest runner. 19:02 is her PR. Right behind her, Kinsey Nielsen from Firth, 19:10. Then 2 runners in a row, Ellie Wood and Lizzie Butler from Soda Springs. Then Bella Spencer from West Jefferson. Liza Boone from Ryrie. India Galloway from Soda Springs. Aislinn Summers, Malad. Eliza Bingham, North Fremont. Laura Robson from Ryrie. Just East Idaho camping in this top 15, Sean. JC Baxter from Ryrie. Rebecca Evans from Soda Springs. And finally, Allie Nielsen from Firth. Just East Idaho representing in 3A girls cross country.
Yeah, and man, I really think the girls is going to come down between maybe like Soda Springs and Riley. I don't want to exclude any other parts of the state out of the conversation, but Soda Springs, obviously the defending champ for I think it was the 13th time or something like that. And a Ryrie team that's been very strong all year. We've talked about them. They've done good things. So that'll be a fun race. There's some good runners in that division, and it should post some good times.
Yeah, for sure. And then for the 3A boys, Corbin Johnston coming in from North Fremont, 15:19. He is the fastest runner in 3A boys. Then for Westside, Ethan Willis, number 3. 5 is Boston Burbage from Malad. 6, Bryce Jensen from North Fremont. 8 is Thomas Henderson from Ryrie. 9, Kobe Telford, Westside. And further down, about 12, 13 slot, Landon Moldenhauer from Soda Springs. And finishing off in that top 15 is Levi Engel from Malad. So maybe not as much East Idaho representation in 3A boys, but still plenty of firepower there. And what you don't see as much is Ryrie, but more North Fremont and Malad, and a little bit of West Side sprinkled in there.
Yep, North Fremont coming off there. They won last year. Corbin Johnson, he's the real deal. He's won races when they've done the races against bigger classifications. So, I mean, Corbin Johnson is definitely a runner to watch. I'm sure that'll come out somewhere on IdahoSports.com. I guarantee his name's there. So look out for North Fremont to do well again and maybe be on the podium.
Right on. And then finally, 2A. We'll finish with 2A. With 2A girls, top runners here. Number 2, Callie Coleman from Grace with a 1935. Further down, you have Logos's Emma Dara. And then further is Stacy Neal from Rockland. Then Aislinn Jones from Ledore. And then Lydia Babcock from Butte County. Liza Heaton, Raft River. And finally, finishing that top 15, Lily Coleman from Grace. So a couple Grace runners, but a few others sprinkled in from East Idaho could make it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's been a while since East Idaho's won at this level, but I think the Grace team. Don't sleep on this Grace team that's done a really good job this year. I think they're a team I would keep an eye out on.
Yeah, well, and I didn't mention this, but they're outside of that top 15. But there's a lot of runners from Grace outside the top 15. I already mentioned Lily Coleman, but Callie Stoddard, Lily Gilbert is on here, as well as Brianna here from Grace and Hayden Ball. So plenty of girls from Grace racing at state. So yeah, watch out for Grace. Might be a sleeper there. Finally, the boys 2A. Let's see the top 15 from East Idaho, who our runners are. From Rockland, the fastest runner in 2A/1A, Hayden Smith, coming in with 15:43, Rockland Bulldogs. Further down, we have Grace, Adrian Mejia. Rockland, Javier Parrish or Xavier Parrish. Further down, you also have Rockland's Woodrow Louder, and finishing up that top 15 is Brock Johnson from Grace. So more Grace runners, but like you said, Sean, not as much East representation in 2A for both girls and boys.
Yeah, I again, Rockland is the team I would keep my eye on. Try to go back to back. I think they've got the runners. They've got obviously one of the best runners right now, has the best time. And they've been there last year and kind of know what it takes to win. And I think that team's poised to do great things.
Yeah. So that's all your top 15 runners from 6A all the way down to 2A, 1A that will be participating this Saturday at Eagle Island State Park in Eagle, Idaho, as a suburb of Boise. If you want more cross-country coverage, go to IdahoSports.com. You'll find Marlo Hereford's articles. You can also go on Twitter, and Marlo Hereford is a great follow on Twitter, does a good job covering all things cross-country for the great state of Idaho. Sean, let's finish off with some football. Obviously, we won't go into a ton of detail here because we have the Gem State game day like we teased at the beginning of the show. We did that show last night. I had to leave early, unfortunately, but it sounds like, Sean, you carried East Idaho football with power, with poise, and with time, baby.
Well, I would tell. Okay, so there's 28 games.
And I covered like 3 of them before I had to leave.
Well, there's 28 total games across the state. 26 involve East Idaho teams.
Right, and I covered like 3 of those.
And I'm going to tell you right now. So at some points during the show, I'm like gearing up to talk about a team, and they'd be like, "Oh, well," they would go to someone else, so I didn't talk the whole time. Yeah, and then I'd have to scramble because I was all ready to talk about certain teams, like so Brandon kept throwing me off every time because I'm like, all right, I'm going to talk about this team. I know. And then he'd be like, oh, Scott Burton, this team. I'm like, really? You're not going to let me talk about West Side? Wow.
Right. I know.
I don't want to, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but obviously they didn't want me to talk the whole time, which is fine. We had there was plenty of talent on the broadcast that knew probably way more than me, but it doesn't mean I didn't know West Side football. But
absolutely,
it's going to be a great show on Tuesdays with everyone across the state chiming in and letting the insights in, and we'll be at a bunch of these games, right? So I think it's 15 of them. IdahoSports.com will be at this weekend, and it's a different look for a state tournament to me because typically you would have a lot of games maybe in a central area. Like a lot of times you would have a lot of these games maybe on a Thursday at the ICCU Dome. and Friday, and maybe some Saturday. Now there's just one game this weekend. Friday, Skyline Nampa. That's it. And then every game's there's I don't think there's any game that's doubled up anywhere. It's all across, so it's really spread out. It makes it really fun, but it also makes it really difficult to cover all the games. But still a ton of games, and as you know, obviously as it goes on, the show is not going to be as long. Right? There's going to be less games, but man, East Idaho represented so well.
For sure. I'm really proud of all the football teams here in East Idaho for having great seasons and making it to state. It really is cool. And 5A definitely carried their weight. 3A carrying their weight. I think most teams in 5A, Sean, made it from East Idaho. Or most teams from East Idaho made that 5A playoff. Obviously, all the teams make it in 5A. But then 3A, I mean, it is an East Idaho heavy 3A. I mean, 3A always is, but especially this year, it's really, really cool. So, Sean, folks, if you want to get more playoff coverage, we're not going to go into all of it tonight. We're going to wrap this up in a few minutes. But go to IdahoSports.com's, again, YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account. Go to the website and you can click on the Gem State Game Day. Our beautiful mugs are on there. I had to bail early, but Sean carried for East Idaho, and there's a lot of
single game. We talked every single game, plus what each team had, key players. It's really, I mean, I learned a lot. It was, obviously I don't know about every single team in Idaho like some people, but it was it was definitely good to learn a lot, and it's just how awesome it was to represent all the different players and athletes in football. And it's the last time for the seniors coming up this weekend, so there's going to be a lot of good memories made regardless.
No, it's a really big deal. So go catch that, and that'll give you all the coverage you want coming into this opening round of the 2024 Idaho State playoffs for football. But Sean, we got to talk about a few games, right?
Okay.
Let's talk about two games. You and I are going to be on that Friday game, Skyline Nampa, which on paper you got the 1 seed versus 16 seed. You think, okay, this is probably going to be a blowout. But as you and I have been studying up on this game and preparing to do it, you'll be on play-by-play. I'll be on color, working the camera in the ICCU Dome. What do you expect in that game, and what can Nampa do to keep that game close? Because I think there's a chance that this game could be closer than people realize.
Well, and we hit on this a little bit. I think it's a lot closer than a true 1-16. If you just looked on it purely on the numbers, you'd think, oh well. And if you look and see it's Skyline, you might go, oh well as too. I mean, Skyline is good, but this Nampa team, I'm learning more. I'm gonna, they have a good running back, Riker Good,
right?
And actually found out, he's moved into quarterback running back because their actual quarterback got hurt in the 4th week, and he's just putting up huge numbers. It's a game that's interesting to me. Now, Skyline's taken, I would say, their advantage of what they like to do, because they always go to choose to play at the ICCU Dome. I was talking to the former Idaho Falls athletic director, Pat Lloyd, who now works at Century, about that, how they played Idaho Falls first round last year, and they played the game at the ICCU Dome and not Ralston. And, it's kind of a little bit of a head scratcher, but that's what they do. That's what they want to do. And as a coach, I understand it. If that's what you do, you want to do it the same way, and that's how you want to do it. And when you play inside, you take a lot of intangibles out, right? You take the weather, you take it, just so many things, and you can just focus on what you're going to do. So a little bit of an advantage to Skyline, because they've been there, they've played there. I don't know if anyone in this Nampa team's played there. It's been a few years since they've been in the playoffs. So a little bit of advantage, but it's not like Skyline's played games there. Sometimes in years past, they've played games, obviously ICCU and Highland and Pocatello and Century played there. But now, since everyone plays on their home field, there hasn't been any high school games in there until Friday night, or I guess the Rocky Mountain Rumble they did. Sorry. But that's no regular season games have been played since 0 week. So, it becomes a big dome, big inside for a big game, and it's a lot different. But Skyline's coaches and stuff will know what to expect. Will Nampa? I think they're more than up to the task, but it's a game where at first you want to think Skyline's probably going to win this easily, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little closer than it might pan out to be, just because Nampa has been so good at running the ball, and that could really eat clock and change some things up for Skyline.
Yeah, and I haven't seen Nampa's line, but what Skyline has had difficulty with is stopping the run at times. And so I'd be curious to see if Nampa's kind of wildcat quarterback, if you will, wildcat running back, taking those direct snaps, maybe doing a little bit of throwing, but mostly running the ball, how they handle him. But also Skyline has been dominant against one-dimensional teams. And if Nampa is one-dimensional with this quarterback / running back, then Skyline should have no problem with it. They did this against Idaho Falls. Idaho Falls really could only run the ball. They couldn't really throw it. And Skyline ended up winning by, you and I were there, 3 or 4 scores. Nampa also coming in on a bit of a losing streak. They lost to Valley View 25-14, then they lost to Emmett 53-28. But then they did beat Ridgeview, they beat Skyview, they lost to Bishop Kelly, only 19-0. Bishop Kelly is not what they have been in the past, but they did get blanked by Bishop Kelly. They beat Columbia, though, 41-13, and they beat Century 42-7 at the beginning of the year. They lost to Middleton, lost to Boise, but those games were close, Sean, 2017, 25-15. So Nampa has the strength of schedule. They have the wins, and they have, if you will, quality losses, which we talk about a lot in college football. So I think Nampa has a chance, but if they become one-dimensional, I think Skyline runs away with this one.
Yeah, I mean, what I look at is the big matchup will be Nampa's, Connor Campbell at linebacker. He leads the team with 61 tackles, 1 interception for a TD, and defensive end Alex Finch, who's been very active as well. He's got 44 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, and a block punt. These 2 defensive guys, I think, if they can disrupt Carmine Garcia, Zane Crockett, Kirkham, and limit big plays from Skyline, because Skyline's good at getting a big play. That they've done it all year. So if you can limit those big plays and the Nampa defense can make Skyline do something different, it could be, that's where I kind of see the key to this game.
Yeah. And then the other game I wanted to highlight, Priest River versus Aberdeen. I was able to catch some of the episode after I had to hop off, and I noticed you guys talking about Priest River and Aberdeen, and we got some great insight from Max Oswald from the Bonner County Daily Bee. He said this direct quote: Priest River might be the most underrated team in 3A. They broke every team and individual school rushing record this year. And on defense, they broke multiple defensive records, including the most forced turnovers in a game with 7. Max Oswald said, they passed the eye test for me. Their unique Georgia Tech / Army style offense is super hard to predict. Aberdeen coming in as a super high seed, Sean, number 2, I believe, number 1 seed in that opening round, playing against the number 8 seeded Priest River Spartans. But does Aberdeen have what it takes on defense to hold this Priest River team, who is, according to Max Oswald, who's seen these guys play, the most underrated team in this bracket?
I mean, I don't know. The thing we talked about in the Gem State thing is Aberdeen doesn't have a ton of numbers, so really they're something going wrong to be in a lot of trouble. But with Lupe Ortiz at the helm and their defense, the way it's been playing, Aberdeen's ranked number 2. Priest River at the end of the day was ranked number 12. I don't know. I mean, Priest River's having an exceptional year, but this Aberdeen has played in an exceptional schedule.
They have
pretty much every team in the top 5 they've played. So they've played all the best teams. I don't know if Priest River's played as many tough-nosed teams as Aberdeen has all year. I mean, Aberdeen's not very far from beating, West Side, right? 2 points.
Right.
They've been in these games that are just super tough. And then I believe Aberdeen beat Declo, right? Is that
Aberdeen beat Declo? That was that 6-0 game.
Yeah. So, and Declo, according to the rankings, is number 1 at the end of the day. And so you have Declo, Aberdeen, Westside. They all played each other. I think I like Aberdeen, and you'll be at that game, right?
Yep, I'll be at that game with Logan Kelso. Yeah, doing the video broadcast.
Yeah, and Aberdeen, that's a fun venue to go out to. You'll be surprised. I believe they have a cannon too that goes off if they score touchdowns. But it's a good atmosphere for football, and that will be a good game. I think Aberdeen, that being home, gives them the advantage, and I think they'll probably pull away in this one.
And I think Priest River, the number 8 seeded Priest River Spartans, they come into this game seeded so low, despite some of their wins, because they played, Sean, 3 Washington teams, and they won all 3 of those games. Some of those games were close, but I don't know if Max Preps can quantify the Washington teams when you're playing in Idaho. It probably does, but we honestly don't know. So we don't know much about those Washington teams. Then they beat Orofino, they beat St. Mary's, and they beat Kellogg, and those 3 teams just aren't that strong this year. Orofino especially not. And then Priest River, their losses were to Grangeville. It was the first game of the season, but they lost by a lot, 36-8. Grangeville got that championship. They were the ones to get in that bye as they were their district champion. And then they lost to Newport, again, another team in Washington that we just don't know much about. So I wonder if that's why Priest River, if they are underrated, that's why they are number 8 seeded, because there just isn't a lot of context around those Washington teams. You mentioned Aberdeen, Sean. Their wins with their strong schedule, their wins were against American Falls. That was at American Falls. American Falls, I picked American Falls to win that game because American Falls had a bunch of seniors returning, but Aberdeen still found a way to win. I think that game was close, won by 2 or so. Then they beat Declo, like we already mentioned. Wendell, Ryrie, super strong team in 3A, North Fremont, Malad, and Soda Springs. So yeah, some of those teams not super strong, but Malad, North Fremont, Ryrie, all in the playoff, right, Sean? And so all those teams, playoff teams, they beat them all. Their only loss was the West Side by 2 points, 14-12. So I agree. I think Aberdeen is the stronger team, but I'm very curious how this game goes, how this game reveals itself. So really looking forward to broadcasting that game with Logan Kelso. Sean, any other games out there that you're just super interested in coming up this weekend that you want to talk about from East Idaho?
I'll give, because I didn't get to talk about it, but I'm
West Side?
No, I'm very interested in 6A. I really wanted to say this about Highland versus Middleton. Highland not as good as they have been, right? It's a different team. Right. They lost a lot of seniors, but you know what Highland does year after year? They go to Boise and they win first rounds of playoffs games. That's what I wanted to say last night. Didn't get a chance to say it, but if there's any team that goes to Boise and wins games, it's a Highland Rams team. So I do like Highland over Middleton just for that fact that they go to Boise and they win games. And then what a matchup that would be to have Highland Coeur d'Alene last year's state championship. And then also kind of Madison. I felt like Madison kind of has a good bracket, yes, playing Capital kind of shot themselves in the foot. I like Madison there. And then against an Eagle team, I feel that's out of those top teams, Rocky Mountain, Rigby, Coeur d'Alene, and Eagle, I feel like Madison got the lesser of the evil if they win that first game. So I kind of like Madison maybe to go to the semis. I'm not saying Eagle isn't a good team either, but I'm just saying out of all those 4 teams in those 1 spots with a bye, I like Madison's chances the best right there. I feel like they got a good draw for that Bobcats team.
Yeah. And one team I wanted to shout out playing Sandpoint. Is it Sandpoint this weekend that Hillcrest is playing? I believe it's Sandpoint. Yes. Hillcrest playing Sandpoint. I believe that game is at Hillcrest, Sean, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. But I'm looking forward to seeing what Hillcrest can do. They kind of stumbled in the season early on, but since then they've been playing really well. Brendan Mossholder will get his guys up for these games. Well, he doesn't have to, but he will have his boys prepared, is what I'm trying to say. He's such a good coach. Hillcrest barely lost to Skyline. I think in the end they lost by maybe a score, 2 scores, but it was a closer game than I think what the final score showed. And Skyline's the number 1 seed. I'm curious if Hillcrest and Skyline end up meeting up in the championship game. I don't remember their placement on the polls in the bracket, but they could, right?
Yeah,
interestingly enough,
1 and 2 seed.
Okay, interestingly enough, Hillcrest, I was looking at their schedule on a certain website that will not be named, and Hillcrest has playing Skyline on November 30th. So they're planning on it. Exactly. Thank you. So I love that kind of, you know what, I don't know who put that in there, maybe a parent or someone on the coaching staff, but on their schedule on that website, it has Hillcrest playing Sandpoint this weekend and then Skyline November 30th.
Yeah,
I got confidence in Hillcrest. I would love to see them play in the championship.
Yeah, I kind of talked about it that it would be. I don't think it would be a big surprise to anyone if we did see Skyline Hillcrest playing for that state championship. I do say I think I really see Hillcrest and Lakeland playing maybe in that semifinal, but I think Valley View is also a strong 6 seed down there, kind of lurking. And then they play Bonneville, right? And Bonneville's won some games. They've lost some games very badly. Bonneville's a kind of a head-scratching team to me. I don't know what to make quite of them, right? It's just if the game's close, I think they have a chance to win it. If they get down early, I don't know. But yeah, it would be interesting to see if it ends up being Lakeland Hillcrest, because I think that would be a fantastic matchup. That wouldn't happen until the semifinal. Got a lot of football to play before then.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Sean, unless there are any other football games, that's going to do it for us here on the East Idaho Prepcast. Went through a bunch of district play, went through state tournament play, previewed state tournament play, and we hit football here at the very end. But again, if you want more coverage for volleyball, football, go to the IdahoSports.com. Go to IdahoSports.com and you can find all those prepcasts. Brandon Bainey leading the charge on all those shows, doing a great job previewing football, volleyball, and then Marlo Hereford again on X/Twitter, and she'll have some great previews up for cross country on IdahoSports.com. Enjoy all the games this weekend, everyone. There's a lot of great competition. It's going to be a blast. Sean, you and I will be together tomorrow night, or not tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's Halloween, Friday night. For Skyline, Nampa, that'll be a blast. And then Saturday, I'll be at Aberdeen, Priest River. Looking forward to all those games, all those matchups. And we'll meet up again on Tuesday to discuss all the football games again. And we'll be here Wednesday to go over all the volleyball, cross country, and we'll hit swimming, Sean, because swimming is just around the corner for their
tomorrow
and state stuff. It is tomorrow.
Yeah, I had to go and ask because I saw some places had finished up. And so I know some of it starts tomorrow. So I don't know all of it, but like some teams in Boise are already done, but a lot of swimming will, I think, wrap up this weekend. So we'll have district swimming results, hopefully.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that'll be our job to go find those district swimming results. But it should be a great weekend of competition. For Sean Kane, I'm Joel Richardson saying be excellent to each other. And we'll see you next week on the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.